Okay, it's 12:01, and so I'm a sucker for starting on time. And so I'll start off with an introduction of welcome everyone to best practices for managing and sharing your hospital's art collection. My name is Elysian McNiff-Kogelmeyer, and I will be the one leading today's webinar. I am the head of growth for Artwork Archive, the host of this webinar. And my background before I was head of growth, let me go on to the next slide. Before I was head of growth, I actually created online art classes, painting, drawing, and photography classes. I ran a public art program, worked for some art museums, and served as curator. And a little bit about me, personally, I'm also the daughter of an art therapist, Sean McNiff, and a mother to a medically complex child. My son has a rare genetic syndrome. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart. And without further ado, I'll let our lovely panelists of other wonderful hospital art collection curators introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Antonia. I'm the art curator at Stanford Children's Health, and that's the pediatric children's hospital associated with Stanford University. I am also passionate about arts and health because I'm the daughter of my dad, who is a pediatrician. His parents were pediatric pathologists, so it's a little bit in my blood. I have a decade of arts, nonprofit, and museum experience. Worked at the Walt Disney Family Museum, curating their community access shows, and was the head of education at the Krieger Museum before that. So education, curation, it all comes together at Stanford Children's Health. And I'm excited to be here today. Heidi?
Oh, Heidi, you're muted.
My dog was barking, everyone. Hello, I'm Heidi. I work at Children's Hospital Colorado, and this is my 10th year there as their curator. I also oversee their arts program. I happen to have a wonderful group of peers in the Ponzio Creative Arts Therapy program at Children's Hospital. And before I came to Children's, I was an arts consultant in the Denver community for 10 years. Before that, I worked at the Art Students League of Denver. I was their marketing manager and event manager. They had a wonderful summer art show every year in Denver. So I have a little bit of background in the community and a lot of background at Children's Colorado. And my mom was all about experimenting. She was a creative thinker. I think that's why today I enjoy what I do. And working in a children's hospital, you have to be very creative.
Indeed. Thank you for the introductions. And we wanted you to see our faces, to see the people behind the voices, especially during these virtual times. So we're going to turn off our video so you can focus on the slides and the meat and potatoes that we will be sharing with you all. And so with that, why are we doing this? Why are we presenting this webinar today to you all? Well, first, our artworks have to be taken care of just like our patients and staff. Art plays such an integral part to the healing of patients and their families and to the mental health and joy of our healthcare workers. Before, very important, now very much so in our current climate. And art is not invincible. We've invested so much time to make it, acquire it, and install it. So let's ensure we are properly taking care of it throughout its lifetime at the hospital, whether it be on permanent or temporary display. Secondly, arts administrators, curators, and artists around the world are being affected by the pandemic, and we want to help during this time when people are going to their computers, seeking information, people are sharing out to help collectively. And in line with that, we want to share the best practices of hospital art collections that we've witnessed by working with hospitals around the country. So that bullet point comes from us here at Artwork Archive, since we work with incredible art collections like Stanford's and Children's. And why not just have one more Zoom webinar on the calendar? I'm sure you guys all have a booked calendar, so I appreciate you making the time for us all here. So before we jump in, I wanted to share and be transparent that we'll be using Artwork Archive for examples for the imagery. What is Artwork Archive? Who is Artwork Archive? We're an online art collection management system that organizations, collectors, and artists use to track their artwork, store documentation, generate reports, and showcase their pieces. There are other online art collection management systems out there, but this is the one that I know best and the one that Antonia and Heidi use. So we'll be using it for our examples, and we're lucky to have Antonia and Heidi here to share their own experiences and best practices throughout the presentation. So thank you to you too. Okay. So in today's world filled with doomsday headlines, whether that be global pandemic, civic unrest, the rise of natural disasters, let alone what you're all experiencing in your hospitals, it's reasonable to feel overwhelmed by the things we cannot control. That's why we want to focus on the things that we can control in this webinar. We hope to share some simple steps that will help set your art collection up for success in the weeks, months, and years to come. So first things first, what I call the vegetables part of art collection management is organizing your art collection. You out there, out in the webinar world, you may be using spreadsheets, legal pads, or a collection management system already. Our goal here at Artwork Archive is to help consolidate and simplify and make sure you're not tied to a desktop. We want to make we want you to be able to work from one platform, to stop searching through your inbox, desktop folders, even manila folders. So that is why we are here to help and present. So there are a lot of moving pieces, sometimes quite literally if you have kinetic works in your collection, when it comes to hospital artworks. You have to track details like title, artist name, creation date, medium, location, donor information, maintenance, etc., etc. And here are some of the benefits of getting your arms around that collection and entering it into one central database. So first and foremost, you'll never lose track of important info. By centralizing all of your project details, images, and documents in one place, you can easily find and share that information. Plus, it's not just the artwork details like title and artist name that are important. There are also key documents that should be with the artwork, like condition reports, appraisals, donor letters, art records, etc. This all proves the value and authenticity of the artworks and also ensures the art story and narrative will be preserved for years to come. Next, you'll always be prepared. Chances are you are a team of one, but coordinate with a lot of different people. By having all of your information in one place, you can easily find what you need and share it out. Send value information to your insurance representatives. Share installation details so your development team can report back to the donors who gifted those works. Deliver recent condition reports to your conservators. Answer questions from staff and patients about particular pieces. And with this, we've heard from a number of hospital art program curators that they are grateful that their collection management system is cloud-based. So why? Cloud-based tools give you access on any device. You're not tethered to a desktop. And it's even more critical since you're probably on the move a lot around the building, around the hospital campus, and those spaces are not small. A lot can happen between maybe noticing damage on a painting and the time you have to return to your office to log in on your computer. So instead, just make note of it on your phone when you're standing in front of it. And lastly, you're creating a living history of your collection. You are preserving cultural heritage. You are preserving the hospital's investment, and your art collection is an investment for the future. Antonia, I'll let you jump in and speak to this slide about the importance of uploading documents.
Happy to. So this is not a Henry Moore. I was admiring the one on the previous slide, but it is a perfect example of a piece that requires multiple uploads to the additional files section of the database. So artist Jonathan Brown designed this mosaic to incorporate actual toy cars. And it's wonderful, but it also causes some concern for me when it comes to keeping the piece in pristine condition. And we didn't want to build a plexi box around it because that would take away from the tactile elements that make it fun for our patients and families. But we knew that if we weren't building that box, that we were basically guaranteed to lose some cars down the road, pun intended, whether they were knocked off by a passing car or stolen by a kiddo. So now we're using the additional files section to document every single car and to upload a note from the artist, which we got via email, about the company he uses to source those cars, because believe it or not, they're hospital themed, they're not just random, and they can be purchased through either Matchbox or KinSmart, and I need to keep track of that to replace the cars when and notice I said when and not if that should happen. So I love the additional files section for this piece especially.
Awesome, thank you. Ooh, I forgot I animated this slide. So one of the benefits of an online collection management system is the ability to filter and sort information so that you can find what you need quickly, even with thousands of works. So that speaks to the part about always being prepared above, and also just saving time and headache. And then another helpful tool within collection management systems is the collections tool. Here you can easily group a body of works together, whether that be for exhibitions or walking tours. You can also group works thematically, so you can make a collection of all the works made by local artists, create another for all of your floral works, another for your sculpture garden. And once the information is organized in categories, you can easily share this information in reports. So for instance, if your marketing team needs information about an upcoming walking tour or exhibit, you can quickly generate a list of all the pieces with the relevant info. And here are some images from Children's Hospital Colorado. So I'll let Heidi jump in here about how she has used collections.
We, first and foremost, we put our permanent collection, all of the pieces there. We have around 1,000 of them. And I actually had an intern who was an undergrad in fine art, and I gave her the task of creating several categories. And she was very creative in coming up with 22, although I don't think that everyone needs to have that many, but we can cross-reference several different artworks by different words. We also made the decision to add a few scavenger hunts of different areas around our hospital, and we started using those this spring. You can see on the screen we have a outdoor sculpture scavenger hunt that our marketing department collaborated with us on to build content for it, and then we released it in April when families were really needing to get outdoors in our facility, and it got some really positive feedback. And then most recently we have a temporary exhibition space in our hospital in our main campus, the Frederick C. Hamilton Family Gallery. And so we opted to include all the artwork in that show, and we will be doing that in future shows, because what we found out is some people will inquire or come back to us later and ask us about specific pieces in our Hamilton Gallery. So it gives us a record of all of the shows, and we can go back and easily find it and give the inquiry, the family, the information about the artist, which I think is sort of a service to our community and to our arts community to be able to reference back to them so that if there's a potential sale or interest in their work, that they have it from us.
Absolutely.
So it's been a great resource in that way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So the next slide, another benefit of organizing your artwork is that you'll know where the artwork is. Seems simple, but this is no small feat in a large hospital building or across campuses. You'll know exactly where the piece is, whether it is in the east wing of the NICU, in cardiology, in storage, or tucked away in a doctor's office. You can also drill down into finer detail by tracking sublocations, which could be a drawer or rack in storage, or in a particular office within a wing. So imagine a nurse asks about a beloved Blue Rabbit painting on the pulmonology floor. You'll be able to quickly find it, identify the painting, and share the information they are seeking. And like Heidi mentioned with the collections, you'll be able to answer similar inquiries from patients and their families about works. And speaking, personally, as a mother of a medically complex child and someone who spent a lot of time in Heidi's wonderful Children's Hospital, Colorado. I know firsthand how particular works can really jump out and off of the walls and into our lives and stick with us. So helping to continue that relationship is lovely. And some nitty gritty when it comes to tracking locations. Not only do you know where the artwork is exactly, but you can also attach documents relevant to the location, like a blueprint if there's an expansion like Stanford just had, or the total value of the artworks if you need to provide a report for insurance, or you can create wall labels with just a click of a button by having all the information there. And that little graphic just speaks to those nitty-gritty points. So here, Antonia, I'll let you speak to how you use the locations tool.
So as the curator for Stanford Children's Health, that means that I'm the curator at our main hospital, which is Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford, but also I'm in charge of the art at about 60 different offsite clinics or ambulatories. So I have to go all over the place and keep track of art in all of these locations. So Elysian said earlier how important it was to be able to have a cloud-based database, and that was very true for us because I do things on my iPad, on my phone when I'm in these various places, and I actually keep track of it. So if, say, an offsite location says that they want an aesthetic refresh, they're just tired of the art that's been up for a long time, I'm going to come in and I'm going to take that art, but it's maybe going to go to the framers next, or maybe it's going to go into storage and not get hung right up someplace else. So I'm going to make a note of wherever it is. Each of those will have a location record, and then there are those sub-locations as well. So on the screen here, this would be one of our clinics at 103 Gilbert Avenue, Menlo Park, and you can see all of these sub-locations so that we know which of these different fun little mobiles are hanging in what corridors or what exam rooms. And then it's just on me to make sure that I update that when things move. But if I didn't, I could never keep track because we have about 5,000 records for our artworks.
Wow. So this section will now speak to some of the other benefits that come from organizing your collection. You know, Heidi and Antonia have already hit upon some of these big benefits already, but we'll just dive in a little bit deeper. All right, so maintaining your art collection is critical. It is an investment for future audiences and communities. And as stewards of our hospital art collections, it is our responsibility to assess the conditions of our artworks, consult conservators, implement their recommendations, prioritize the pieces in the collection because not all pieces may perhaps have the budget to maintain. And to record all this, you don't have to recreate the wheel in future years. Antonia gave a great example with the cars on the amazing artwork and showed how Artwork Archive's additional documents can help with this, but also our maintenance tracking can help as well as you advocate for your collection and maintain it. So if you're tracking maintenance and its cost, you can advocate for your collection, whether that be if you need to deaccession a piece or increase conservation budget. You'll also have conservators' treatment plans and recommendations attached to the object record, which is very helpful, you know, because as time passes, you may forget what paint is the top coat for a sculpture, or yeah, where to get those little toy cars. And so just to read from the slides and reiterate, so you can create condition and maintenance records, record the status of the artwork, its condition, record what has been done and who did it and how much it cost, and upload those key files like condition reports and treatment plans. You can also schedule upcoming conservation efforts. So if you know a sculpture needs to be buffed every year, you can schedule that annual cleaning and not have to worry about remembering. You can coordinate directly with your conservator and also track the maintenance costs. So as you budget for future years to understand, to get your arms around that collection like I talked about earlier. And artworks age. So we have to restore them over time, but also accidents happen. Antonia mentioned a cart. You know, people are are very, very distracted and rushed, perhaps in the public place that is the hospital, and artwork isn't always going to be top of mind of their surroundings, and so things happen. So it's good to be prepared. And with that, Antonia, this is your slide.
So we use our maintenance reports as condition reports, like you said, Elysian, and they allow me and my contracted sculpture conservator, her name is Leslie Bone, she's fabulous, to keep track of the many changes of our artworks over time. And they definitely do change. And it allows us to record the various treatments that those artworks receive then as things are changing. We always say that the best treatments are preventative. So we are constantly cleaning and waxing sculptures that are exposed to the elements. And right now in California, that means ash literally falling from the sky onto some of our sculptures. So we're going to upload photographs and detailed notes about exactly what we're doing to keep these pieces clean, safe. Maybe we're putting another tile on, like that bunny that you can see on the bottom left-hand side. Maybe our banana slug had peeling paint on the antennas. It did, we fixed it. We're gonna stamp it with a date and a signature, and then we're good to go. And we know what we did, and we can do it again the next time something happens.
Awesome. And so you're really, I just have to call out right here that you are so impressive and have really earned a gold star in the way that you've tracked the condition of your art and worked with your conservator. So it's really impressive. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, on to the next slide. So report generation can be an entire webinar in itself. I mean, pretty much every one of these slides can be a webinar in itself. So we're just hitting top level, and I'll attempt to make this brief. But templates can help save you time. No more mail merges. I really hated that from the public art program I used to run. No more creation of PowerPoints. A collection management system has a slideshow feature or a portfolio page generator. And in a few clicks of a button, you can create these following reports, which I'll just kind of run through. So you can generate inventory lists for donor reports and share valuation updates with insurance reps, like I mentioned earlier. You can produce portfolio pages to create educational PDFs for exhibition audiences. And a portfolio page is one large image per page with description and details underneath, versus this inventory list, which is a thumbnail shared from Children's Hospital Colorado on the right. You can also share maintenance reports with conservators and other stakeholders, make wall and address labels for exhibits and contacts, and then use insights to share value snapshots per location. And Heidi, I believe I lent some space for you to speak to this slide as well.
I believe I was going to talk about the connection, the way I utilize Artwork Archive with our foundation. Is that right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I will say that most of my interaction with our foundation before Artwork Archive was phone calls of them having a donor on site, having a tour, wondering where the artwork was that they donated, or wondering if they could help refresh the memory of a donor that they hadn't seen in a while, and they wanted to utilize an artwork in our collection that the donor had familiarity with or enjoyed that particular artist. So I use the Artwork Archive a lot in my communications with our team at our foundation. I might send them a new addition to our collection. They have access. We actually have our site right now password protected, but our donor team at the foundation knows the password, and they can go online and access any of those files. They can look at new artwork that's been added. And I will say, before COVID, it was used a lot in conversations spontaneously when donors were at our hospital looking at artwork, and it's just a natural tie into fundraising.
Yeah, oh, that's a great point. and fundraising is definitely a buzzword when it comes to hospital art collections. So hopefully that was helpful for the audience. I know that's a great point to be made by Heidi, so thank you. And then also, Antonia, you wanted to speak to the Insights tool, which is the last bullet here on the slide.
Oh yeah. So, in my opinion, reports are just not very sexy. Um, but I'm a visual person. I think we all are. And so for me, it was really helpful when I realized that the Insight tools has a visual snapshot that shows how much value, how many, like a dollar snapshot per location. So if I'm looking at all of my facilities, I can see that I need my insurance guy to put a little bit more coverage on 725 Welch than that Menlo Park clinic that we looked at earlier. So it's a really nice visual to share with them and to have for yourself, and as opposed to always generating a report.
Great. Yeah, and I wanted to show the insights, but because it's a lot of values, decided not to share an image. So thank you for describing that. That was really helpful. Another advantage of an art collection management system in organization is to always have contacts on hand. So there are a lot of people involved in healthcare art programs. Works are not created in a vacuum. And an online art collection management helps you keep track of artists, board members, conservators, installers, community members, development team, et cetera, et cetera. And all this information is accessible on the go. So if you're standing in front of a mosaic that was damaged, you can pull up the conservator's info on your phone, take a photo, upload it to the object record, and send it to the conservator, like Antonia mentioned. And on the left is an artist contact record with their contact details, bio, what works of theirs is in the collection, and a space to add additional files. And to the right is a restorer's contact example, so you can see what they've worked on in the past, so you can make sure you have the right professional for the right type of artwork, because people may specialize in certain types of artwork or time periods. Oh, and Antonia, you had another point that you wanted to share about collaborating with others and giving access to other teammates.
Oh yeah, apparently I'm just super chatty, but yes, I have really taken advantage of this as a tool to keep us all on the same page, because even if I am in many ways a one-woman show, I have this network of stakeholders, and they're not even all local. Our art consultants are in Southern California. They're at Aesthetics Incorporated, and in fact, they're the ones who recommended Artwork Archive to me and got me on board. So I made sure that they were going to get one of my 10 free accounts. So I've had to be stingy, but I have found exactly the right balance of who needs access. And I'll point out that some people can have a sort of see-only access, while others can have full admin or editorial privileges. So you can make those sorts of choices. But I've got my sculpture conservator. I've got board members who are on the public space committee. I also, like you, Heidi, have a rep at our foundation who wants access for donor recognition. And so being able to all be able to come onto one page to look at this and to have all that information just at our fingertips, it's been really, really nice for, well, so many reasons. I'll leave it at that.
That's great, thank you. All right, next slide. So people ask about project management tools when I speak to them about collection management systems. And here is an example of how you can keep projects and tasks on time and on task, for lack of better words. So at Artwork Archive, we have a schedule, and it's an easy way to keep your team on task and to understand the steps ahead for a piece or event or project. You can add custom reminders so you never miss a deadline or an important to-do. Like I mentioned, you can keep everyone on task, and you can also sync this to your calendar. So there's a little calendar icon on the right-hand side. You can sync it to your Outlook or Gmail. And then every Monday morning, you'll get an email from us at Artwork Archive saying, knock, knock, this is what's coming up for the week. And depending on your week, you may be really excited to hear from us. And on other weeks, you may not and have a large list of to-dos. But we want to help streamline and keep everything in one place and organized. All right, so here's the cherry on top. With all of your information organized in one place, you can easily share it out and showcase it beautifully, which Heidi and Antonia have been speaking to, but there's some other tools that really just make it sing. So a thing to note is that with a platform like Artwork Archive, by default, all of your information is private, but you can make it public if you wish. So we have a venue for showcasing your collection, the public profile, and you can choose which pieces and which information are public. So for instance, you may not want to show the purchase price or acquisition price for the piece, but you would want to show the description, the artist name, the medium, the location of where it is. Also, you can integrate this with your website, so you don't have to double enter data, and your website with the embed is automatically synced to your inventory on the back end. You can also share arts programming like temporary exhibits, new donations, and installations in the news section. And so Heidi, you really utilize the public profile beautifully with your scavenger hunts, as you mentioned, but you also ran into a challenge internally with the public profile. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to share the experience with the audience.
Yes, I will say that we had originally created the artwork archive, and it was a public, and as Alicia mentioned, you have the choice to select the data and the content that you would give to the public, and we were very careful about that. But our marketing team, and I understand this as we're growing, wanted to have a greater management of everything that is visual within our hospital and institution. So recently they have asked us to review Artwork Archive and our content with them, and we're in the process of doing that. And once we get approval, and I think we will, it probably will be very similar to Stanford Children's, that our Artwork Archive site will be located on our hospital's main platform, so that people can see it, the public can see it. But right now, the site is not public, and it's still available to all of our employees and staff that need to have access to it. But unfortunately, we're not allowing it to have public access. Did I say enough there?
That was very diplomatic. And so, because we wanted, to share, that as you all know on the webinar, that there are some hoops sometimes to jump through, or, there's so many different stakeholders when it comes to the art collection. And so the coordinating with the different groups, just wanted to be transparent about it and to share, experiences that maybe you can relate to, or that can serve as cautionary tales as you move forward, sharing the artworks in your collection. So yeah, thank you, Heidi, for sharing that. And you mentioned Stanford. So here I just wanted to give an image. So here's Stanford Children's Health's public profile, and it shows the portfolio, the collections, the artists that are part of the portfolio. This is not an active page, it's just a screenshot, but if I were to scroll over each artwork, I would get the title, the artist name, the medium, the dimensions, which is really lovely. And you'll notice that there is this message button, and also within each piece, people can inquire and ask questions. So it drives engagement, which is really lovely. And you can also add an about section about your hospital art program. You can include a map. So speaking to Antonia's point of, sites, satellite sites all over, you can showcase the works across the state or city or wherever it may be. And also a news section to share those updates as I mentioned. And so with that, as Heidi mentioned too, and as I mentioned, and I'll just keep saying mentioned, you can embed the public profile onto your website, which has a lot of benefits, which Antonia, I'll let you speak to.
So I am not at all techie, but the integration of our artwork archive profile into what was a new art website for us, which is embedded in our larger hospital website, so you can search for art and it pops up, was actually easy, I promise. All I had to do was upload the artwork into a collection, and we named it Art Collection Selections, make that collection public, and then Artwork Archive generated a string of code, which my web team said, oh yeah, we'll just embed that. So I shared it with them, and then it was like linked the next day. So now I, who has no business programming, can go onto our artwork archive page, add something else to that collection, refresh the website, and it just generates like that on the website, which I've got to drop in here in case you want to look it up later, art.stanfordchildrens.org. We have about 100 artworks up there now, which I was able to do all by myself during COVID lockdown.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I have to say, I love this transportation piece with the crocodile. My son uses sign language, and he's really into signing crocodile and ASL. So it's really cool to see. But I'll move back to the PowerPoint and to what you're all here for. So all public profiles are hosted on Artwork Archive's Discovery platform, meaning that the public can also find your collection through that. And you, as an art curator or the person managing the acquisitions or temporary exhibits, can also search thousands of artist profiles, since we also work with artists at Artwork Archive, and they post their profiles, their public profiles, onto the Discovery platform. And so Heidi, you've had a lovely experience with Discovery, so I'll let you speak to that.
Yes, I really, part of the work that I do is promoting the artists within our community. And when I am looking at a new project, and last spring I was looking at a new inpatient floor, I had some funding to acquire original artworks. And I thought, well, I wonder who is on Artwork Archive, artists. And so I was able to do some searching on keywords and discover new artists that I didn't know about. And I'm a strong believer that we should keep things fresh and create diversity at our hospital. So I found a new artist who worked with me. She was excited when I contacted her through Artwork Archive. I think she was a little astonished, but she and I worked together, and I was able to acquire two of her pieces to add to this new inpatient floor. And that was thanks to Artwork Archive and the database that they had of practicing artists.
Awesome, thanks. And as a member of the Denver community, I'm so glad that you're reaching out and bringing the local artists into the hospital. So thank you. So after that fun stuff, let's talk about data security, because as someone who works with hospital art collections in my professional career and has a son in the medical system, I know that security and privacy is a must when working in hospitals. So if using an online, a cloud-based art collection management system gives you worry, here is some information to help assuage those fears. So with all online art collection management systems, in order to be, on the market, you got to be keeping your data safe and secure, and it's one of the biggest priorities. So here at Artwork Archive, we use some of the most advanced security and data protection technologies available. We also believe that your data belongs to you, so you can export your information into a clean, downloadable file and report at any time if you are the type of person that just wants some extra peace of mind having it downloaded to your desktop. And we've all, at the Artwork Archive team, we're used to talking to tech teams, to IT, to webmasters, security, whomever it is that may have questions. And so, yeah, we're happy to have conversations. And speaking of just some worrisome things, if you do have a system, and the data migration piece makes you nervous, whether you're moving to a platform like Artwork Archive or another. You know, we have a lot of institutions moving from other systems. So we have seen it in the past and done it in the past safely. We do it every day. We have an import system that seamlessly populates your account. And yeah, it's something that we painstakingly do, but very efficiently to make sure that your data, again, is safe and secured and transferred over. So if you're working from a spreadsheet or another system in which you can export the data, it can easily migrate to another system. Heidi or Antonia, you both went through the process of populating accounts. Do you have anything to share on this slide?
Yes, I am happy to, Antonia here, happy to comment, because when I first started, and I've only been at the hospital about 18 months, one of the first things I was told to do was investigate the database and find out if we should switch from Embark to Artwork Archive. Because again, it had come highly recommended to us by our art consultants in San Diego. So I started poking around, and I really liked what I was seeing in Artwork Archive. I felt like it was really easy to use, but I was nervous because we have 5,000 records, and I didn't want to have to manually do some kind of like input. So after talking to Justin, who I later found out is like the owner of the company, and makes himself so accessible, it's incredible. He said, you know, you're going to be able to do this, like, let's take it one step at a time. And basically it was a matter of getting the export from Embark in an Excel format, which could be then uploaded into Artwork Archive. And that was step one. And that was just kind of like the text data that didn't include images. And images were really important to me because sometimes you have an artwork that's like untitled by unknown artist, and the only thing you know about it is what it looks like. So the next step was working with our some of our IT guys who have a server that was holding all of those artwork images, and they used something that was like, and forgive me for being so not techie, but they had a file path. And so all we had to do was get the file path for all of those images over to Artwork Archive so that they could then connect that file path, so to speak, to the database. And then voila, it really was like magic. Those records were matched with the data and imported, and then I had everything in this new system. And I really didn't have to do all that much. I just had to make sure that I was asking for help on both ends. And it happened pretty fast.
Awesome. Awesome. So happy. Heidi, do you have anything to share? Would you like me to move on to the next slide?
I think Antonia is magic, even though she keeps saying that she has no technical abilities, because our path was maybe not so fluid, but needed, and we worked from a very old FileMaker system. So I'm glad it worked out in the way it did for you, Antonia. And I'm sure that I know that with Artwork Archive, they work hard to make it transition very smoothly.
Great. And I know in your experience, you had an intern add records directly into the database, and that was how you guys did it.
Yes, that's right. I was fortunate enough to have an intern who was eager to work with me on that project.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and she I worked alongside with her and helped her out, and it was really helpful. So for those out there, if you do have interns, you know, collection management, record keeping is a really great activity, whether it be, you know, updating or adding new records. You know, if I think back on when I was an intern long time ago, that would probably be a really great project to learn about a collection and learn about the art. So, you know, we've talked about Artwork Archive a lot since we were the examples for the best practices for organizing and sharing your collection. If this does sound appealing, just wanted to make sure I did my due diligence over here from the team about sharing our information. We're here to help. We also offer a free 30-day trial. So I like to say that you can date us to see if we are a solution for your hospital art collections needs. We do offer a lifetime 30% discount off of to all nonprofits. Everyone on the team has had some experience and background in the nonprofit sector, so we're very passionate about making our tools accessible, and a big piece of that, especially now and in the future that is ahead of us, a big piece of that is affordability. We have a landing page just for hospital art collections, which I have linked to here, artworkarchive.com/hospitals. I've also given out my personal email, so you can send any questions to me. As I've mentioned, with my father as an art therapist and my son being medically complex, I just love connecting with hospital art collections and hearing about the work that you are all doing around the country and around the world. We also have, Antonia mentioned being a visual person. I am too, and I'm sure Heidi is, given the careers in curatorial work. We do have a tutorial channel of helpful videos. And another resource that we have is our blog. So artworkarchive.com/blog. A lot of helpful tutorials about art inventory, conservation, exhibiting art. And since I am passionate about arts and healing, there are quite a few articles about art and medicine, including my own experience living in the hospital with my son and our relationship to the art collection. And so here is the link to the blog. And lastly, and most importantly, thank you. Thank you for joining this webinar, for taking the time. We were really excited, Antonia, Heidi, and myself, to share the best practice that we've come across. If there's anything that you would like to share with us, please feel free to reach out. And hopefully this webinar was of help. I stopped my screen share, but if you do have any questions for us, feel free to submit them into the Q&A. We were hoping to have 45 minutes of presentation and to leave some minutes for Q&A. So if you would like, feel free to send us a question and we're here to answer it. Will we get copies of the slides? Yes. I've worked so hard on that PowerPoint. I will definitely make sure to download slides. I have everyone's contact information from you registering from the event. So I will send out, we're also going to, what's the word I'm looking for, edit the video instead of recording if you like to share it with your colleagues. The NOAA, so plug, the National Organization of Arts and Healing has their conference, their virtual conference, I believe starting on October 19th, and they're an incredible resource. And we at Artwork Archive are members of NOAA, and so I'd recommend checking them out as well as a resource. Oh, hello, Elizabeth Gordon from Boston Children's Hospital. I actually grew up in Gloucester, and so I have a strong connection to Boston. Currently using FileMaker and considering other options. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let's see, Renee, thank you for joining. Is there a professional association for art and hospital programs? Yes, the National Organization of Arts and Healing, NOAA. They are fabulous. They have a membership. Any other questions? Heidi, does your dog want to say hi? I think that's it. Yeah, and we're at least I gave my email out, so I'm around if you have any additional questions. Elysian, ELYSIAN at artworkarchive.com. Thank you again, Antonia and Heidi, for sharing your time, your expertise, your best practices. It was really lovely to have you on this webinar.
Thanks for having us. And I'm going to put my email in the chat in case anybody does want to reach out.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us share our collections and be a part of your seminar today.
Wonderful. All right, well, with that, I'm going to sign off and everyone enjoy the rest of your day ahead. Bye now.
Bye.